Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me for another video. I really appreciate you going out of your way to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me and the channel out a lot, so thanks for doing that. Now, I did a video a couple days ago about gizzard shad eaters, and the whole point to the video was bass really start keying in on big forage, post-spawn, and later. That's why topwater is such a big deal. Anytime you get in the summer, fall months, it just seems like that catches bigger fish. And I think that's because the fish are really starting to key in on what they want to eat, and big forage is a big player in that. And the topwater just goes hand in hand with giving them not the best look at the bait, still very appealing to them because it's super natural, but they can't see it real well. So they think it's a bluegill or they think it's a gizzard shad when it really does look nothing like a bluegill or a gizzard shad. But I want to dive more into the bluegill side of that, because it seems like if you're going to catch them, doesn't matter if you're punching or throwing topwater, big bluegill are a key to catching bigger bass later in the year. So I kind of want to give you a couple tips that I've run into over the years when it comes to really trying to pattern a bluegill bite. So if you're punching mats, you know, the one thing that you really got to focus on is that sound. You'll hear that popping. You'll hear that kind of, you know, just that bluegill noise really. And you'll just... And it's kind of like they're just crushing things or they're eating things, and it's pretty noisy. So when you get around it, you start getting bites, you'll start hearing that most of the time. Very, very important when you're punching. Now, if I am going to look for just a bluegill bite, there's a couple things that you can do that'll cut you down on time. And it's really that one time a year where you can start patterning grass fish. And what I mean by that is there's certain types of grasses that grow in certain types of bottom. So lily pads grow in sand. Arrowheads are going to be in any type of hard bottom. So what I mean by that is if you are getting bit, let's say you're around arrowheads and you know that brim are spawning, you know, maybe some of the areas you're in, you can see the brim beds, the water's clear enough where you can look down in the water and see the big round brim beds. And you notice that, oh, there's some arrowheads, or there's some type of vegetation that you keep recognizing around the brim beds and where you're getting bit, you can just run that the whole lake. So knowing what kind of bottom that grass grows out of is very important if you're trying to pattern the brim bite. So three baits. I like to try to keep it pretty simple, but a prop bait. That is going to be my favorite brim eater bait of all time. It just seems like not a lot of people are throwing the prop bait. And I think that feather on the tail, very important anytime you're trying to imitate really gizzard shad or brim. But I think this is very important because your bait is going to be sitting a lot of the time. Then those rings go away, those bubbles go away, pop it again, and it just gives a really good noise that I think entices big fish, and it's also a noise that they don't hear from a lot of other lures. So I think the prop bait is one of those gems that just doesn't get thrown a whole lot. And like I said earlier, you're noticing some type of cover on the bank, some type of vegetation. Could be, you know, submergent or emergent. Most of the time, it's going to be something growing out of the, you know, the bottom, and be completely out of the water, like arrowheads, like reeds or buggy whips. And then there's brim beds around it. And you can, if you don't have a whole lot of that on the lake, you can run small little sections. And this is going to be my first option. Now, a popper, some kind of popping bait, you've got to have that rigged up. I think that, you know, feather tail is important, or, you know, some kind of skirted tail, some kind of hair on there, very important when you're imitating brim. But some kind of popper, you can't deny the tried and true that this bait just flat out catches them. So some type of popper. And one other bait when I'm just strictly going for brim eaters is a trick worm. You know, a lot of people throw a Cinco when they're wacky rig fishing, and that's a great bait, but it just seems like the trick worm doesn't get nearly as many, fishermen throwing it. So trick worm for me, big time bait. I like a wacky jig head. This just allows you to throw it a little further. The trick worm, extremely light. So, and this is a little way that I've seen this rigged. Try this. This is a little bit different, but try it rigged like that. It's really got crazy action when you rig it up like that. It's going to be different than just rigging it wacky. You also could rig this up, just on a regular, wacky rig hook, maybe put a nail weight in it. You can do a lot of things, just feel that out. But that's a good backup option when they're just not biting topwater. But topwater most days is all you need. You know, it's not totally a conditional thing. It's more you're just enticing fish that are already pretty scrambled and crazy because they're eating bluegill left and right, and then you drop a prop bait or a pop-ar in front of them and they bite that too. So try the brim beds. You can pattern grass. You can pattern it all over the lake. When it goes down, it goes down. Good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.